Hey guys, and what's up, and welcome to another video. Today we are going to be looking at the Druid spell animations. Again, this is going to be more of a look at what's changed with current spell animations and the animations for new spells that were added, not necessarily a commentary or overview on what spells have changed, been removed, switch around. We will talk about that a little bit as it's relative to the spells or skills we're talking about. But the purpose of this video, again, is to showcase the animations that we're going to be looking at and how that may or may not have changed. Today we're going to be looking at the Druid class, so that's Feral, Guardian, Balance, and Restoration specs. I have to say right off the bat, not a whole lot has changed with their animations. Feral Druids, with most of their attacks, much like Warriors, aren't very flashy. They're very straightforward, just kind of is what it is, with the swiping and clawing motions, compared to these warriors, swinging motion of the swords and things like that. There's not a whole lot to be said. There is a couple major changes, and of course with Balance, we'll see, I think, the overall bigger change to some of our spell animations and things of that sort. Now, what's really funny is I sat down to record this couple days ago, got all my footage done, and then realized I had my microphone off. So I went to bed and then decided I would come back and record another time. So what we're looking at here right off the bat, again for Feral, as you can see, most of their skills, the animations themselves haven't changed. With Rake, same animation, cool little bleeding claw swipe. Maim, still very similar. As you can see, Entangling Roots is still the same. Rejuvenation is still the same. So not a whole lot really for Ferals has changed as far as what we're looking at spell-wise. Which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because again, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. There is no update to this cat form because it was updated recently as far as the animation goes. As we know, a lot of the skins and character models and skeletons have been updated, so this is all staying pretty much the same. And again, nothing wrong with that. But again, still very, very similar. Nothing too flashy or different there. Something I will want to go over, just simply because it is, if I feel like relative to this, is with Feral Druids, level 100 talent, Lunar Inspiration now allows you to cast Moon Firewall in cat form and generate 1 combo point. As you can notice, this does not take you out of cat form. So it's kind of interesting and adds some range to a Feral Druid's gameplay. And it's nice that it does add a combo point, so we'll see where that goes. And if it stays, because again, this is still beta, so things could change very quickly. As we can see, the Savage Roar animation doesn't change much. Berserk doesn't change at all. Stampeding Roar, a little bit of a bigger effect there, I feel like, on that, which is kind of cool. Wild Charge still looks the same. Cenarian Ward still looks the same. I feel like less takes you out of cat form now, which is interesting to note. So that's kind of cool. Cyclone still looks the same, although that was immune. I have tested it out on other creatures, and it does still look the same. None of our other really talents add any other different spell effects, except for, of course, this one. This is the big one for Feral Druids right now. The Claws of Shirvala. This is the biggest change to our animations, and obviously this is going to change the way our animations for swinging and kicking and all that works and looks. And as you can see now, using Moonfire will take us out of cat form, which is per standard. But again, you can see obviously the animations are going to be different for a Feral Druid in this form because they are standing up, right, like a human being, like a man. So they're swiping and clawing. This is a really cool talent, I think, and kind of adds some versatility and some difference to Feral Druid gameplay more so. That way you're not stuck in like on all fours playing kitty cat all the time if you don't want to. I mean, if that's obviously what you're into for feral gameplay, then please by all means stick with it. But it's interesting that the Claws of Shirvala are adding a not just a cosmetic effect, but they are also looking at a stat increase. Increases your versatility by 5%. And versatility is a stat that increases the damage you deal, and it decreases the damage you take. So it's an all-around useful stat. I'm curious to see how it will play out in PvP and if it will actually be viable. I feel like initially it's a fabulous idea, but again, we'll just see how it actually plays out come end of beta and into live. Now, it's worth noting, and I know this isn't exactly new information, but it's kind of cool to see it side by side, is each of the different races have different forms or different skins for their Claws of Shirvala. As you can see, we're looking at the Tauren Druid, which is what I selected, and they look more like a lion, whereas if you look at the Troll Druid, they look more tiger-ish. Night Elf still looks rather panther-esque, and I feel like the Worgen has still that werewolf type look to it, which again, if you're into that, then obviously you'll probably enjoy it with your Druid that you play. As far as feral goes, though, that's about it for our spell animations. Nothing too new, nothing too flashy. They're pretty straightforward. But again, this right here alone I think is pretty cool. Oh, look at that dance. Doing the Worgen dance. I wonder if that's a placeholder, or if that's actually what they'll do. Quite curious. Because it looks like essentially they're using the same skeletal structure as Worgens. So it doesn't surprise me that they're doing the same dance, but I'm curious if that will hold up. Oh well, that's not what we're here to talk about. Now, as for bear form, again, kind of in the same boat as feral cat. Not a whole lot has really changed for their spell animations. Still very straightforward. Swipe, claw, pounce, bear hug, all that crazy stuff that we love bears for. It is worth saying that Druids are actually in a pretty good place overall. I feel like all their specs are doing really well on beta. So for Druids, if you are a Druid player, you have a lot to look forward to. As you see, Fairy Fire still the same. Looking at Thrash, still the same. Still the Bloody Claw effect. Lacerate, still the same effect. Savage Defense, still same. Stampeding Roar, I feel like that effect is a little bit different, a little more dramatic or pronounced. For Mangle, again, still very similar. Now, looking at bear form from a stance of our talents. First one in our level 100 bracket is passive. The second and third, however, are instant and usable. Pulverize is one that absorbs the 3 stacks of your Lacerate on the target, and it looks like this. So, kind of, again, obviously a new animation because it's a new spell. So it's got kind of a cool, just like triple strike look to it almost. Take a look at that again. Looks kind of cool. Let's take a look at it from behind. Your typical player interaction with it. The ground is lighting on fire. Crazy warlocks, burning everything. So yes, that is what our Pulverize looks like, and it's a devastating blow that consumes 3 stacks of your Lacerate on the target to deal 11,499 physical damage, and reduce damage taken by 20% for 10 seconds. So kind of a cool little ability for them. Now again, we're going to look at the Incarnation Son of Ursoc. So again, the same idea where we're looking at a spell that adds some cool little armor to your bear for a duration of time. It's kind of cool because again, it does reduce the cooldown of all your melee attacks for the duration while it's up. So kind of a nifty little ability there. Again, I'm fairly certain this is also how it works on live, so not a whole lot has changed there. Taking a look now at Bristling Fur, which is our other level 100 talent. It is a defensive cooldown with a minute cooldown that it says you bristle your fur, reducing all damage taken by 50% for 3 seconds. So again, there's that. Pulses red for a bit while it's up. And that's about it. I was really hoping for like some hair to stick up. That would have been kind of fun. But as you can see, not a whole lot there has changed again for druids, which is kind of fine because I feel like the thrashing and bloody claw animation on the screen fits just fine. Although it is kind of a bummer. I feel like that's the kind of the downside to playing melee classes, is that when it comes to the way your skills look, you're not very flashy or very exciting looking necessarily all the time. But we make up for the fact that we get the job done. Now, something that is worth mentioning for druids, while it's not necessarily spell animation, it's the way some of our spells function. As you can see, your spell or your transformation bar has been drastically reduced down to 3. And you have your bear form, cat form. If you're restoration spec, you'll have your tree of life form there, which is on a 3-minute cooldown, and then you have your travel form. How they've worked travel form now is they've combined all your traveling forms into one. So this is flight, aquatic, and ground. So how it works is when you are in an area that it is applicable for you to fly, you will transform into your bird. If you are in water, you will that is deep enough to swim in, you will transform into demon seal. Look at that. Demon seal. Obviously nothing new. And because there. And if you are in an area where you cannot fly, you will transform into your cheetah. Why you still can't transform to cheetah form indoors, but shamans can turn into ghost wolf indoors, I'll never understand. I suppose druids can't actually have it all after all. Alright, next for our druid spell animation, we're going to be taking a look at Boomkin. Moonkin, Boomkin, Space Chicken. Whatever you want to call it, Boomy. Right now on live we call them resto boomies because you're OP as all get out. As you can see, Moonfire hasn't changed a whole lot. Still that really cool thin looking beam from the sky. Wrath itself hasn't changed a whole lot. Still straightforward yellow blast. Do any of you miss the green Wrath that used to exist? I know they changed it a little bit back and now it's this yellowy thing, which is cool. But I wonder if anybody misses the green one. Now, as you can see, when you have your solar thing charged up again, you still have Sunfire, which is very similar to Moonfire. It is just now red. As you can see, for our talent Fairy Swarm, I believe the animation hasn't changed much at all as well. It's still a little sparkly light that goes around the target, which is alright. Solar Beam, still the same. I still think it looks dope with Sunbeam coming down over top of it. It's kind of cool. So that's still the same. Our Starfire looks the same still. Still looks like a semi. And it looks the same, but that's okay. Then we have our Star Surge, which still looks like a giant Spirit Bomb or Kamehameha, which is okay with me. Our mushrooms still look the same. Now, something I was noticing with druids, I don't know if this way on live, so if any of you play a druid, maybe you can comment and let me know one way or the other. But with your restoration spec, whenever you use your mushrooms, they spawn wherever you're at. You kind of just click them and they spawn where they're at instantly. Whereas as Boomy, you have the little marker and you can choose where you want to put them, which is fine, but it just adds interesting mechanics to gameplay, I would suppose so. And I really don't know what it's like on live because I do not play a druid on live. So it'd be interesting to see what that's like. Rejuvenation still looks the same in Resto. Now our level 30 talent renewal, again, still looks the same. Shooting stars still look the same. Still a cool looking spell, but alas, still the same. Our Super Moonkin form still looks the same. Looks all dope and like ready to throw down. These are the Moonkins I'm scared of. Mass Entanglement still looks the same. Our Typhoon spell still looks the same. Force of Nature still looks the same. I don't know if it functions differently though. I know this time it has charges. I don't know. Does the one on live have charges to where you pick how many you want out and then you just summon them accordingly? That I'm not sure. Ursul's Vortex still works the same. Looks the same, I'm sorry. Now this is the one I'm kind of excited about the most. Our new level 100 talent you can pick as a Boomkin. Stellar Flare. This is your middle talent on your level 100 tree. It is your only active one. The other two are in fact passive. But this one just looks kind of cool. Stellar Flare has that cool like electro beam from the sky look to it, like a satellite or Goku is like blasting something from the sky. Pretty dope. I'm a fan. And it's kind of a cool unique spell in that it benefits from both your lunar and solar eclipses, dealing the most damage when they are balanced. So this is going to be some interesting gameplay mechanics. I think just kind of trying to keep your solar and moon stuff balanced the most. Is the moon thing here, is that new or is that something that is normal for boomies to have? I'm not sure. Hurricane still looks the same. Still looks cool, but still the same. Celestial Alignment still looks the same. So again, not a whole lot there for Druids as far as things looking different. So again, Astral Communion still looks the same. So yeah, still pretty much the same basic stuff there. And then of course, our restoration spec, what we're looking at here is, again, just for the same thing, any new spell animations and such for the restoration druid. Not a whole lot is different. And I don't know if I know restoration well enough to be able to comment on if any of your spell functions, any of your spells function different, I'm sorry. So again, I don't know if I feel necessarily comfortable enough talking about that. It does seem interesting that you have to spec into the Tree of Life now, and they're making you choose between Soul of the Forest and Force of Nature, so that should be interesting. Now, for your glyphs, most of your forms can still be changed in appearance if you want. With your glyphs, again, if you want to not be in Boomkin form as a balanced druid, you can glyph for that. You can make your Tree of Life form look like a treant if you prefer. Same thing with your aquatic form. You can again spec it to where you now look like an orca. So nothing too major again as far as changes there. But again, we're just going to take a look at our talents here, or our skills I should say. So as you can see, not a whole lot is different. Still lots of just green, splashy looking effects and things of that sort. Tranquility still looks the same. So our rejuvenation still looks the same. Wild growth still looks the same. Genesis. Regrowth. Healing touch. So still lots of green, flashy, orby, woobly goobly effects. Bark skin still looks the same. Now again, as you can see, you get those mushrooms. And is that the same as on live, to where it drops those down and it's instant like that, or do you have to drop them specifically? I'm curious. Again, I've never played a druid to max level, so I'm not quite sure. Curious. And then of course we have our Tree of Life form if we spec into that, and that doesn't change too much of your animations other than just your casting animation, which is okay. I like the way this tree form looks. I think it looks fun the way it just kind of runs around and flails its arms like it's a raving lunatic when it's healing people. I'm a fan of that. I think it's kind of fun. It is interesting that there's no more Circle of Healing, it's just Tranquility now. Other than that, there's not too much for Restoration, because all of your level 100 talents are passive. Tree of Life, or I should say, sorry, Force of Nature, your treants still look the same. They obviously just will function differently as a healer. They'll, you know, heal things, which is totally fine. It's kind of what you want them to do anyways. But again, not a whole lot really too different for all that. Pretty straightforward for the Druid. Not as flashy as a Shaman or a Mage or anything like that, which is totally fine, but still, it is what it is. So hopefully, beta will continue to progress and come together quite nicely. So far, I'm having a lot of fun on it. I'm enjoying it. Looking forward to it to go live. I can't wait for this expansion. It's tuning up to be quite a fun little bit of time, especially with what they're doing with PvP between Ashran, the Colosseums, and all those different things like that. So I'm a fan and can't wait for it to be a thing for everybody to experience. I think it should be cool. Other than that, I hope you guys have been enjoying the videos. Sorry this one did not get up sooner, as again I was having technical difficulties, mostly because I'm an idiot, and decided to noob it up. But hopefully we'll be back to our regular schedules this week, getting at least a video up a day. I think I am going to postpone our Let's Explore series for a bit while I'm spending time on beta, because I want to be able to get as much of this out as I can. And I know I'll need a little bit of filler content for the channel in between when beta goes offline, and I'll need a little bit of filler content between when beta goes offline and when Warlords of Draenor launches. So I don't want to spread myself too thin there and run out of things to post while I'm waiting, especially since we're at the end of an arena season, so there's really not a whole lot of arenas going on. So everything would be pretty much just be random BGs or beta coverage, and so